Broadcasting live from Trump Tower in New York City. Now, it was a big night for Donald Trump in the Empire State. Now, Fox News is now projecting that Trump will win the New York GOP primary. Ohio Governor John Kasich is coming in second place. Senator Ted Cruz, he will come in third. And joining us now, by the way, on the Democratic side, though, first, Fox News is projecting Hillary Clinton will win the New York Democratic primary, beating socialist Bernie Sanders. Joining us now are some of the Donald Trump's children, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Tiffany Trump. Guys, good to see you. How are you?
Great to be with you, Sean. Great to be with you.
I appreciate it. This is the first time we've met, so nice to see you. Big night. Obviously, we don't know what the delegate count is going to be, but numbers I've been seeing up to now, almost near 60% or above. If he gets 50% in every district and wins the state, you could win as many as 95 delegates tonight.
We're very excited. Listen, it's a big night. There's no place like home, as they say, right? So we knew we were going to do well here. I think so far, based on what I'm seeing and what you're seeing simultaneously, it's a bigger win than we even imagined, and it's going to be a great week.
Yeah. What do you make of all the issues in the last 2 weeks about delegates? For example, in states like Georgia, South Carolina, places that were kind of long forgotten.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's amazing. When you let the voters vote, we do incredibly well. You know, when you try to suppress that, it's a different system. That system made sense 200 years ago, Sean, 150 years ago. When people lived on a farm, they didn't have the Library of Congress in their fingertips on their iPhones. They didn't have access to information. It no longer does. We have to let the American people decide. I mean, it's actually a joke. I feel like I'm in communist China sometimes watching this stuff. You know, it's crazy. When the American people get to vote, we win.
I think there's a certain need for reform. The Democrats are even worse because they have this whole superdelegate system.
Correct.
But I always think, all right, if it's a national party, the people represent the party, so you should have either a caucus or a primary. Let the people participate, every person that wants to. You can be proportional or winner take all, and I think every delegate should be bound. Are you upset about the process and what's been happening in terms of states that have already taken place?
Well, listen, I think people are seeing it for the first time. I mean, they're really seeing the delegate system, how unfair it is. I mean, look at Colorado. Colorado was a perfect example of this. I mean, people didn't get to vote. And, you know, as Don just said, I mean, that really is a democracy. And people are upset about it. I mean, people are upset about it. And the Republican Party, they should want to expand the voter base, right? And doing that, quite frankly, especially to the front runner, it does the exact opposite. It has the exact reciprocal effect. So
this is a record turnout year, too.
Yeah.
And Republicans in primaries are way outperforming Democrats from where they were in 2008.
Well, especially in swing states, right? I mean, one of the things that never gets talked about when they speak about Cruz is we're winning so many of the states that you need in order to win the general election, whether it be Florida. You saw how well we've done so many other places. I mean, look how well we did tonight in New York. Could you imagine if a Republican took the state of New York?
It's interesting. Hillary Clinton, a senator here, we didn't project her right at 9 o'clock straight up when we came on the air.
Yeah, we saw it at about 9:00:00.001.
That was pretty much it.
It was pretty fast, and you know, that's amazing. I mean, the GOP hasn't won New York since '84. I mean, imagine just putting that into play, what that means for the general.
Or New Jersey or
Pennsylvania. The GOP should embrace that. They shouldn't run from it, but they're worried about someone who's going to shake it up. They're worried about someone who's going to get rid of their little cadre system where everyone takes care of everyone else, and there's no accountability, Sean. They can lose. They put forth these terrible candidates. They lose, and guess what? Nothing happens. They have their job. It doesn't matter.
What about Reince Priebus, who say, well, everybody knew the rules ahead of time? Should you have competed differently maybe in a state like Colorado?
No, because my father, he wants to speak to the people. He's given people a voice. He wants to focus on the blue-collar, hard-working Americans. The only non-protected class in this country are the people who made this country great, or the people who built this country, and they don't have a voice anymore. He wants to be their voice. He wants to make sure they're heard.
I thought one of the more fascinating descriptions of your dad came from you. You once called him on my show a blue-collar billionaire.
100%.
That's an interesting line.
100%. I mean, that's how he is. I mean, you see him, just the way he gets along with people, whether it's, you know, the construction workers on our job sites, because he's also the only candidate up there who's actually created jobs. Hard to believe. You know, he gets there. He just understands these people so well. He's really one of them. He's been very successful. He's incredibly smart and wealthy. Yeah. But, you know, he's that guy. He's an ordinary American in many respects when you get him one-on-one alone.
You know, I've talked to your brothers a little bit more than you, Tiffany, but I saw an interesting quote about you fairly recently where you said that your father's work ethic, you don't want to underperform. You want to overperform, that he's inspired you. What did that mean?
I think my father is just someone who motivates all of us truly, and all of my siblings, we work so hard, and with the American people, he really is relatable to them, and all my family in Georgia, my mom's from Georgia, and everyone is just rooting for my father, trying to get hats, and we can't even get like my closest relatives hats. So it's such a movement, and it's just so amazing to finally see something happening and changing in politics.
Did any of you expect this from your father?
Always. Listen, if there's one thing I've learned in my life, never underestimate him. If he gets into something, he's going to do well. He's going to do it right. Unlike a lot of the other candidates, they win by one vote and they say everyone else should drop out. Everyone else should drop out. So if Ted Cruz comes in a distant third in New York State, maybe he should think about doing the same thing, Sean.
I think the New York values comment certainly, and our exit polls showed this, that it certainly had an impact on people. Let me get back to this delegate issue, because it's a very big issue. Mitch McConnell, I want the delegates to pick somebody who can win. I don't think he's talking about your father. Mitt Romney's talked about it. John Kasich has talked about it. Karl Rove has talked about it. And even state GOP leaders have talked about a white knight candidate. So my question is, if they were to try to disenfranchise the voters, what's your reaction? Where does that go?
Isn't that ironic, given that he's millions and millions of votes ahead of everybody? I mean, you saw the performance today. You've seen the performance up to today. He was a couple million votes ahead. After the 26th, he'll be many millions of votes even further ahead. I mean, that's amazing. You also see the turnout at the polls. You look at states like Nevada, right? They had the biggest turnouts they've ever had. You look at South Carolina. You look at New Hampshire. These states are having the biggest turnouts that they've ever had. You see the amount of people that came to the polls today. Democrats who wanted to vote Republican, who didn't know the rules, they were getting turned away left and right. You see in Pennsylvania, quite frankly, how many people registered. There were Democrats who registered as Republicans very early.
It was almost 100,000.
That happened. It's a huge number, Sean. Why turn those people away? I don't get it.
He's growing the base.
You destroy the party.
Growing the party, and it's an amazing thing.
All right, so the number's 1237. We still have a lot of contest to go.